Hello everyone, today we have a new video review, and as you can see we continue to check the novelties from Miniart, and this time we get a 135 scale kit, of course, but it's a US armored bulldozer, so it might be handy for a World War II project. It might be a diorama, something which you can see for example here on the box art, or you can build it as a solo subject. Maybe you can combine it with some figurines, but we have a commercial sample here, so it means you'll get exactly the same stuff as what you'll see in this video review, and this is the final shape of this kit, so nothing should change and you'll get exactly the same parts, exactly the same contents. And by the way, the kit number is 35403, so we reviewed the previous versions of the Bulldozer as far as I remember, so you can find it in our YouTube channel as well, but this time we are going to take a look at this a bit different take at the Bulldozer, because we get the heavily armored version which was used in the World War II during military actions, so that's why it has these armor panels. And well, the box size is typical for Miniart. Here you can see comparison with my hand, but what I wanted to say is that the weight of this box is surprisingly heavy, so I wonder what is actually inside, because I mean one can think that it's just a bulldozer combined together with the armor panels, but who knows, maybe we get something extra. So, on the sides here, you'll find the information about the manufacturer, also barcode and some safety advices. Of course, it's not a toy, and of course, the paints and glue are not included. Oops, sorry. I touched the camera with the kit, but here on the side, on the opposite side, we have also 4 marking options which are included. Obviously, you are not limited only by these markings. You can replicate something different if you have some reference material which actually support your changes. So, it's a top opening box. Inside we get a sealed plastic bag with all the parts inside. So I guess it's just a matter of careful opening of all these sprues. As you can see, they're supplied in one bag, as I said, and then we will start checking everything one by one. So just give me a moment. I need to tear through this plastic bags combo. And why it's a combo? Because we have one plastic bag and then we have inside, so if I will show it like this, as you can see, there are several other plastic bags. So it's a funny packaging styling from Miniart. But as far as you can see, all parts arrived intact, so there is nothing to be worried about. And in the meantime, I can also remind you that on the box art we've seen the Panzer IV, or maybe Stück. I think it was Stück. So you can also get this vehicle from Miniart as well. So basically the same brand produces all the necessary components for the small diorama project. But in my opinion, it would be quite a interesting spend of your money in order to replicate a damaged Stück. Okay, so here we start with the first thing. It's a unpainted PE thread. It will be handy for some external features, obviously. As you can see, we even have some parts for the jerry cans, but I would say it's a standard bonus for Miniart. Nonetheless, it's really cool to get it in the box, because not that many brands still supply the standard PE in the armor kits. And in my opinion, in 1/35 scale, it's a must-have, because there are actually more opportunities to replicate this or that feature. Okay, next we continue with a decal sheet. So here you can see we have a typical stars, also some dials for the interior, which is rather interesting. So I guess maybe we will have some opportunity to open the, let's say, cockpit. And also these decals are coming from cartographs, so we shouldn't be worried about any possible quality issues. Next we also get this thread. I guess it will be useful for the towing cable, or maybe for a winch. And also we get lenses for clear parts, but I'm not sure if it will be actually used in the armored version, because I think armored ones had them deleted. I mean in the headlamps, but we will see. Okay, so here we start with the first gray plastic sprue. I guess I will open the lenses a bit so that you can see a bit more. And here we have quite large parts. Those are for the front end section. So as you can see, this sled is actually molded as a single piece part, and that's really cool, but it's also a great opportunity to play a bit with weathering, meaning replicating all the scratches and dirt on this part, which is usually accumulating there. And if I flip it over here, you can check this part from the opposite side. So I'm not sure about these push marks, whether they should be there or not. I guess that's actually something what should be there, but feel free to correct me in the comments below, so I will be happy to know. By the way, note here, we will have to obviously delete or cut off this plastic, because otherwise it would look weird. Next, we continue with minor panels. So first of all, we have this bonnet panels for the, obviously, bonnet. So as you can see, they're molded as a one-piece elements. You don't have to combine anything separately. And if I flip it over here, you can check them from the opposite side. We have guiding elements. So this will be handy for the proper position of those things together. Next, we continue with some minor elements. So those ones, as far as you can see, they will be used for the external structure on this tractor. As you can see, they are not that huge, but I think the installation will be quite simple. And if you flip them over, here you can check that there are again some guiding elements which will be helpful during the assembly. Next, we continue with kind of a new sprue. So here we have actually the armor panels for the driver compartment, and here you can see that we also get the separate doors. So maybe that's why we get the dials for the dashboard, because it might be possible to open the interior and show what is inside. And just to give you an idea about the features on these parts, here you can take a closer look at all these welding seams. Well, this I would say details, they look quite nice, and they definitely deserve some careful painting, maybe replicating this welding seams with a bit different painting effect. But it's up to you how you will signify them, or whether you would do it at all. Still good to have it out of the box. Next, we continue with another plastic sprue. So here we have, I would say, rather simple set of parts. Maybe they will be used for the suspension on this tractor. Here we have another one. So everything looks nice, but you might have noticed already that the parts count is really huge. And this is definitely not a beginner's kit, because you will have to spend some time trying to get everything together. And for example, this sprue actually only supports my opinion about this kit, because as you can see, we have a lot of thin parts. And these parts are quite fun to work with, if you know what I mean, because they require careful separation. As you can see, we have several attachment points, and also cleaning up, because obviously you won't be able to separate them in a clean way. I actually do not recommend to use the cutters, because usually they snip clean, but then they break the part, because all other connection points, they're actually pulling the part to the side. But it's up to you, maybe you have some own tricks how to separate such elements. And here, just to give you an idea, is comparison with my fingertip. So when I say these are really tiny parts, I'm not overestimating, and that's why be ready to have some special tools which will help you with this task, because otherwise it will be a really tricky thing to do. Now you can hear I'm opening the second plastic bag, and small plastic sprues are actually falling out. So just give me a moment. I caught them. Okay, let's place this sprue to the side. And then we continue with a large gray plastic sprue, another one. So here you can see that we have some of the interior parts, and I wouldn't say it will be surprising for some of you, because these are actually the same parts as what we saw in the previous tractor releases. So that's why I'm saying that if you had experience of meeting the previous version, then it will be quite familiar for you. But nonetheless, they look really good. We have the bonnet parts here. We have also some parts for the front cap. And if I flip it over again, we get a nice design in form of the guiding pins and tabs, which will help you with overall alignment of all of these things. And next we get I would say, collection of the small sprues. So for example, here we get 4 identical plastic frames, and if I leave only one here and zoom in a bit, so you can see we have all the parts for the drivetrain. I would say the molding quality looks fine, but again, looking at the parts count here, it shows us or hints us that it won't be a walk in the park. So definitely be ready for such challenge, and also be ready to install a lot of things in a separate let's say molding, in a separate design, one by one. Next we continue with another well, I'm not sure if there are actually 4 sprues. As far as I can see, 4 sprues. No, there are more. So there are 8 of them. It's a sprue DC. I will show you only 4 for now because they're absolutely the same. The more important is what we get here. So we actually get the track parts here, and in my opinion this is the one of the main advantages of Miniart kits, that they actually do not go with the vinyl tracks with really poor details. Instead they supply these plastic tracks which look superior to the typical vinyl offering. They help you to copy more features on your model, and as I was saying before, in 1/35 scale it's even more important because these things are actually noticeable. So here you can check it from the opposite side. Obviously there is no assembly jig because Miniart does not include such stuff into their kits, so you have to make your own, but I think it's a reasonable sacrifice, let's say, in terms of comparison with what you get instead. So next we continue with a small plastic sprue. So here we have a mix of some parts for the drivetrain and suspension. We also get this really small sprue with tiny parts. Again, a small reminder that this kit is definitely something to spend time with. It's not something you will be able to build in a weekend time, but I mean, I know some modelers who actually crazy enough and they were trying to build it in a such short time span, but it's up to you whether you would like to go with such challenge. Next we continue with the tensioners here, or idlers. As you can see, they're assembled out of 2 parts. Maybe, well, I can see that holes are throughout, so I was going to say that maybe it's a good idea to drill them out, but it's visible that they're already prepared and no additional work is required in my opinion. Next we have 4 identical plastic sprues with minor elements, so I'm just trying to arrange them. Just give me a moment. And this is a sprue DE, and here you can see actually idlers and some of the minor elements for the drivetrain. Okay, next we have some of the suspension parts. These are supplied on 2 identical plastic sprues. Here the most interesting is this protection bar for the suspension spring, kinda spring. So let's zoom out a bit. You can see the drive sprocket, which is assembled out of 2 parts, and well, I mean, it's a single piece actually, but we have a bit of flash inside, so this cutout should be actually the circular, not what you see here, but I think it's not difficult to clean it. And also the suspension parts, they look really good, and I think it's nice to have such features out of the box. And last but not the least is this large sprue. I'm trying to find the letter. Oh, it's A. Okay, so let's zoom out. Here we get the parts for the drivetrain. So for the suspension, for the track bogies and all other stuff, everything looks clean. So here I don't have anything to comment about. And as far as I remember, the design here is quite clever, so it should be easy to combine all of this stuff together. Okay, and now we are coming with the last component of this kit. Obviously it's assembly manual, so we are going to close the lenses right now, zoom out a bit. It's a color printed brochure. You can see we have a short list of the features on the cover. Next we continue with the first marking option. This one comes from 1944-1945 European theater, and also this large white star on the bonnet. We have also the parts map. Keep in mind that Miniart does not show unused parts, so that's why you have to be careful. Assembly process starts with an engine, so here I do not see any suggestions on how to super detail it, but obviously you can add some wiring, because as far as I remember on this unit they had some external wiring as well visible. And especially if you plan to open the bonnet, it might be a good idea for some additional features. Next we continue with the drivetrain, so then we connect everything together with an engine and gearbox. Here we start working on the control elements, as you can see, which will be in the front cap obviously. Then we continue with the floor panels, also the side skirts, side supports. Here we have some of the parts for the bonnet. Then we continue with here assembling the drivetrain. So as you can see, this should be quite a process, because each side will require basically repeating the same actions. So this one is for the as far as you can see, that's the left side, and this one is the right side. And then you have to install everything on your tractor. So we continue here with building the front cap. So as you remember, we have this separate armor panels, so you just need to combine them together. But it's really cool that we do not get an empty interior, considering the fact that we have the separate doors. So if you plan to open the doors, it will be something to show inside. And next we continue with top bonnet panel. Also radiator grille being installed, and then we start working on the frontal section. As far as you can see, we also assemble the tracks, and here that's the frontal section. And as you can see, we have 3 variants for the dozer blade positioning, so it will be up to you which one you pick. But again, it's really nice to have a variety. We have colors chart here. And then we continue with 2 more marking options. So this one is from 1944, 1945. This one is from 1945. And here we have another one from spring 1945 in Germany, by the way. So this one might be actually good to combine with the German vehicle. So overall, we get a nice armor model, if we can say so, in 1/35 scale from Miniart. It should be already available. You can get it in Modenimex, for example. Of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about this release. Do not forget to write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye.